The airport fell silent for one impossible moment as thousands of hurried footsteps, boarding announcements, and rolling suitcases faded into the background. A little girl watched in confusion while a flight attendant ripped her father's boarding pass into pieces right in front of everyone. The single dad stood frozen, holding his daughter's tiny hand, unable to understand why he had suddenly become the center of public humiliation. Travelers stared, some whispered, others recorded the scene with their phones. Then, before security could escort him away, another voice echoed across the terminal. It was calm, firm, and filled with unmistakable authority. The airline's regional director walked toward the crowd, looked directly at the embarrassed father, and respectfully greeted him with one unexpected word. "Sir." In an instant, every face in the terminal changed, and the woman who had torn the ticket realized she had just made the biggest mistake of her career. Before we continue this unforgettable journey, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment telling us where you're watching from, share this story with someone who believes in kindness and second chances, and subscribe to Lifeline Tales so you never miss another inspiring story that reminds us humanity is still alive. The man at the center of the crowd was named Rowan Mercer, a quiet mechanical engineer who had spent the last 6 years raising his 8-year-old daughter, Ivy, completely on his own. Since losing his wife to a sudden illness, every day had become a balancing act between work, school, hospital memories, and bedtime promises that everything would somehow be okay. Rowan never complained because he believed children deserved hope, even when adults carried unbearable pain. His clothes were clean but modest, his suitcase old but carefully maintained, and his tired eyes revealed countless sleepless nights spent making sure his daughter never felt the emptiness that filled his own heart. That bright morning, father and daughter were flying to another city where Ivy had finally been accepted into an advanced treatment program for a rare hearing condition that doctors believed could dramatically improve her future. Rowan had saved money for years, working overtime, skipping vacations, repairing neighbors' appliances after work, and selling many of his personal belongings simply to afford the journey. Missing the flight was not an option because the hospital appointment had taken nearly 11 months to secure. As they approached the boarding gate, Ivy smiled with innocent excitement while clutching her favorite stuffed rabbit. Rowan checked every document twice, wanting everything to go perfectly. Unfortunately, stress had already spread through the airport because several flights were delayed after unexpected weather changes. Employees were overwhelmed, passengers were frustrated, and patience was becoming increasingly rare. The flight attendant assigned to the gate was named Sabrina Holt. She had started her shift after a difficult morning filled with customer complaints and management pressure. She was exhausted and emotionally drained, yet instead of separating her personal frustration from her professional responsibility, she allowed irritation to influence every decision she made. When Rowan politely presented his boarding documents, a small computer error displayed an incomplete passenger verification message. Rather than investigating further, Sabrina assumed the worst. Believing the boarding pass had somehow become invalid, she publicly accused Rowan of attempting to board using incorrect documentation. Her voice grew louder as other travelers gathered around. Rowan calmly tried explaining that he had checked in successfully online only an hour earlier, but every word he spoke seemed to increase her certainty that he was hiding something. Before anyone could intervene, Sabrina grabbed the paper boarding pass, tore it into several pieces, and ordered him to leave the boarding area immediately. Ivy's frightened eyes filled with tears as tiny pieces of paper floated onto the polished airport floor. She did not fully understand what had happened, but she recognized humiliation on her father's face. Rowan did not raise his voice. He did not argue. Instead, he gently comforted his daughter while quietly asking whether someone could simply verify the reservation. His calmness confused the surrounding passengers, many of whom expected anger but instead witnessed remarkable dignity. Standing nearby was an elderly airport volunteer named Walter Briggs. He had spent decades helping travelers and immediately sensed that something about Rowan's behavior did not match Sabrina's accusations. Walter contacted airport operations, requesting that someone review the situation before security became involved. Only a few minutes later, the regional director of the airline, Cedric Vaughn, happened to pass through the terminal while inspecting customer service operations. Hearing raised voices, he approached the gathering crowd. The moment Cedric saw Rowan, recognition flashed across his face. Without hesitation, he walked forward, extended both hands warmly, and respectfully greeted him as, "Sir." The terminal became completely silent. Sabrina stared in disbelief. Security officers stopped moving. Nearby employees exchanged nervous glances. Cedric immediately asked Rowan whether he and Ivy were all right before turning toward the confused staff. Several years earlier, Rowan had quietly volunteered his engineering expertise after severe flooding damaged one of the airline's maintenance facilities. Without requesting payment or publicity, he had designed emergency repair solutions that allowed dozens of grounded aircraft to return safely to service within days. His work had prevented millions of dollars in losses while protecting countless passengers. Rowan had declined awards, media interviews, and financial bonuses because he believed helping people was simply the right thing to do. Cedric never forgot that act of generosity. When Cedric learned what had happened only moments before, disappointment spread across his face. Instead of shouting or humiliating Sabrina, he calmly requested the complete incident report while personally escorting Rowan and Ivy into the executive customer lounge. Fresh boarding documents were immediately printed. The hospital was contacted to ensure the appointment would remain available even if the departure required slight adjustments. Every possible effort was made to reduce the stress the family had endured. Meanwhile, Sabrina remained standing at the gate, overwhelmed by guilt. She replayed the entire incident in her mind and realized that not once had Rowan spoken disrespectfully to her despite being publicly embarrassed in front of hundreds of strangers. The more she reflected, the heavier her mistake became. Later that afternoon, Cedric invited Sabrina into his office. Instead of beginning with punishment, he asked her one simple question. What did she think Ivy would remember about airports for the rest of her life? The question pierced deeper than any formal reprimand. Sabrina imagined the frightened child watching her father humiliated despite doing nothing wrong. She understood that customer service was never merely about policies. Every decision affected real families carrying invisible burdens. Sabrina accepted full responsibility. She admitted that frustration had clouded her judgment and confessed she had never even attempted to verify Rowan's reservation before destroying the boarding pass. Company procedures clearly required additional verification before denying travel, and she had ignored those safeguards because she believed assumptions were faster than compassion. Several weeks passed. Ivy successfully completed the first stage of her medical treatment. For the first time in years, she could hear certain sounds with greater clarity. Rowan watched tears of happiness roll down her face as she listened to birds singing outside the hospital garden. In that beautiful moment, every sacrifice he had made suddenly felt worthwhile. Back at the airline, Sabrina voluntarily enrolled in advanced customer care training. She spent months learning conflict resolution, emotional intelligence, and communication under pressure. More importantly, she learned to slow down before making judgments. Every passenger now became a person with a story rather than another boarding pass in a long line. Nearly a year later, fate brought them together once again. Rowan and Ivy arrived at the same airport for another medical follow-up appointment. This time, Sabrina recognized them immediately. Instead of hiding from embarrassment, she walked toward them with sincere humility. She apologized from the bottom of her heart, admitting that her actions had caused unnecessary pain during one of the most important days of their lives. Rowan smiled gently. Life had taught him that forgiveness often healed the person offering it as much as the person receiving it. Holding Ivy's hand, he accepted the apology without bitterness. He explained that everyone experiences difficult days, but true character is revealed by what people choose to do after recognizing their mistakes. Ivy surprised everyone by handing Sabrina a small drawing she had made during the flight. It showed an airplane flying beneath a bright blue sky with smiling passengers looking through the windows. Above the airplane were simple handwritten words that read, "Everyone deserves another chance." Sabrina could no longer hold back her tears. That drawing remained framed on her office desk for years, reminding every employee who entered that professionalism begins with kindness and that assumptions can wound innocent people far more deeply than policies ever intend. Rowan never became famous. Newspapers never celebrated his quiet sacrifices. Most passengers who shared flights with him never realized the extraordinary strength hidden beneath his ordinary appearance. Yet his greatest achievement was never his engineering brilliance or the respect he earned from airline executives. It was raising a compassionate daughter who chose forgiveness over resentment despite experiencing public humiliation at such a young age. Every airport welcomes thousands of strangers every day. Some carry business plans, others carry vacation dreams, and many carry heartbreak that no suitcase can contain. We rarely know what battle another traveler is fighting. A simple smile, a patient conversation, or one extra moment of understanding may completely change someone's life. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, share it with your friends and family, leave a comment about a moment when kindness changed your life, and subscribe to Lifeline Tales so together we can continue spreading stories that inspire hope and compassion. Special request: before this story ends, comment below with the words, "Kindness always wins." Your message may encourage someone who desperately needs hope today. As Rowan and Ivy walked hand in hand toward their departing flight under the warm daylight streaming through the airport windows, they left behind more than a painful memory. They left behind a lesson that every traveler, every employee, and every person should carry through life. Respect cannot be measured by someone's appearance, their clothing, or the condition of their luggage. Every stranger deserves dignity until proven otherwise. Sometimes the greatest people in the room are the quietest ones, and sometimes a single word spoken with genuine respect can restore a heart that moments earlier had been broken. That day, an ordinary airport became the place where pride surrendered to humility, where judgment gave way to compassion, and where one little girl's belief in the goodness of people was beautifully restored.